Woke up this morning, coffee in hand, flipped on the screen, my favorite man. Crafty's on the TV, chipping that stone with obsidian and flint, he's in the zone. He's shaping the future with a hit and a crack, building the legends, ain't no turning back. With every sharp edge, he's teaching the way of the ancients who thrived back in the day. Crafty on the TV, talking that smack, stone carving dreams, never looking back. From Texas to Vermont, Crafty studies us, chiseling the past, building futures for us. Wielding the hammer, he's steady and strong, crafting a world where we all belong. Underneath those layers of dust and grit, finds the magic every little bit. A sculptor of stories, buried in the ground, each piece he uncovers wisdom abound. With every collision, the sparks start to fly. As the old world awakens, we question why. He's digging deeper where the shadows play, reviving old crafts that could fade away. Crafty on the TV, talking that smack, stone carving dreams, never looking back. From Texas to Vermont, Crafty studies us, chiseling the past, building futures for us. Wielding the hammer, he's steady and strong, crafting a world where we all belong. And in this life, we're all just searching for our place in the world, a way to keep working. With the flick of his wrist, he brings forth the light. In every gray morning, he makes it feel right. So gather around, let the stories unfold. Crafty's our guide through the young and the old. With the sun rising high and the day moving on, Crafty carves dreams till the light is all gone. He's shaping the future one chip at a time. With every creation, he's keeping the rhyme. From the heartland of Texas to the mountains of green, the legacy lives on through the stonework unseen. With every perspective, he's showing the way. Crafty keeps going, come whatever may. Crafty on the TV, talking that smack, stone carving dreams, never looking back. From Texas to Vermont, Crafty studies us, chiseling the past, building futures for us. Wielding the hammer, he's steady and strong, crafting a world where we all belong. So here's to the mornings with coffee in hand and Crafty on the screen, the true heart of the land. With a hit and a crack, he's paving the way through stone and through story. He inspires the day.
Okay, hello everybody. I think I'm ready for this live stream. If I can find my fine pen or fine point Sharpie. I found it so I can take notes. We're going to do a rock to point. It's rock to point Monday with modern tools. I have not done obsidian in a while, so I'm going to use obsidian this time. So I got two options here. I got to start with a rock, okay? On a challenge night, I can start with a biface, but I'm going to start, I might just biface these two, starting from rocks, and then finish one of them out or whatever. Yeah, however it goes. Now we had an auction. Let me see. Yeah, I can show. This is the way I keep track of the auction. Plus, I check the phone, but this is how I record the winners. Okay, of each item, and then I flip this over and I write down everybody's information and if they've contacted me by email and all that. If you're brand new, you need to send me an email if you win your item in the auction, or items. Let's see who's in the chat. Some of the payments for the auction have already come in. Yeah, like Jorge Valadez, I think he sent me his payment already. First one. And he's the first one in the chat. Okay. Would you like to be a moderator, Jorge? I tend to look at if you're first in the chat, I tend to look at you as if you're a potential moderator candidate. Yeah. All right, so Alan is here. Mr. Jim is here. Ed Gould is here. The Primitive Gentleman. Tommy Taylor. Dockenstein. Stoneface. Ross Wellman is here. Alan Young. Chris Cox. Wow. Good to see you. Flakes Guard. Frodo Joe. I think I haven't seen Chris in a while in the chat, right? Let's see. Lance is here. What up? Sam is here. Sam Folks. Hello, hello. JF Baird. Hey. From Texas. Yeah. Graylin Landry is here. Let's see. Stoneface. I think I've seen you already. Who else we got? Who else is here? Tom Brown. Hello, everybody. My Flintknapping Journey. Yay. Yeah, I'll use your YouTube name until I'm sure that I can use your real name in public. Yeah. Tommy Taylor's here. Okay, so we got 56 people already. Holy moly. Haven't been able to get on much lately, says Chris. I see. Toby, I'll search it all in YouTube, and especially everything in Mother Nature, etc. What does that mean? Make the Kerrville Sniper a mod. Yeah. I know. But he was the first one in the chat. Let's see. And everyone's had their chance to snipe once in a while, right? I mean, it's not a good thing, but everyone's done it. And if you don't know the rule, I set up a rule that to help prevent sniping, you can do multiple and increasing bids at the very last minute. You put as many bids as you want, and I'm only going to count that one bid that beats the other guy. So I'm not going to count your latest, highest bid, okay? All the other ones that are much higher, whatever, they don't count. I just count the one that beats the other guy. So you can bid like 10 times at the very last minute to prevent sniping. But you can increase it by $1 each bid, or $2 each bid, or $5 each bid. I'm only going to count the one that beats the other guy. Okay? So I think that's in the rules in the description box. Toby says there are survival kits, survival weapons, survival medicines, and trap snares. Hey, Stacy's here. Rockin' Pop's Adventures. Yep. I'm going to do a challenge rock with one of his rocks tomorrow night. Yeah. Let me see how good the audio is. With one of his rocks tomorrow night. Yeah. Let me see how good the audio is. Audio sounds good. But I'm going to turn the fan on in a minute because it's still like, it's like 80 degrees in here. I'm going to turn the fan on in a minute. Let's see here. Waste your money about preparation, dude, because you need that all someday. And there are survival videos. Oh, okay. You're a survivalist. Yeah. Okay. Everyone, please hit the like button. Yeah, me too. I'll hit the like button. Double tap the screen. Okay. So we lost some viewers because I'm just chatting. That's fine. What else we got here? Chris Van Patten. I made him a mahogany obsidian point. Works like glass. Oh, yes, it does. Funny how that works. Read all my comments, dude, because you need that all someday. Yes, I know all about survival preparation and that kind of stuff. So if you keep posting about the same thing over and over again, I'm going to put you in timeout. Let's see. If you have questions about Flintknapping, you can post as much as you want. Or if you're, communicating with other people in the chat, you can post as much as you want. But if you keep posting and spamming the same idea or the same thing over and over again, I'm going to put you in timeout. because I can and because I like it. All right, let's see. What else and who else we got? Prairie Goes Ken is here. Yay. All right. Audio is good, yes. Mac says audio is good. Jorge should be a mod. Okay, so let's see. Let's do that. Add as moderator. Standard, right? Yeah. Standard. Chris says, other than mahogany obsidian, he's still working glass. Oh, how's the skunks doing? Let me post that. Let me make that video public. I just posted a video of one of the skunks and the possum snacking out on cat food together. Okay, let me go back to the channel. And let me make that video public. It's a shorts video. Ready? See, right now it's unlisted. So I just do the edit, right? I do the edit and I make it public. I just shot that video just before I started the live stream because they were outside my front door. Right? And I'll go late night moochers. I'm going to call it late night moochers. Late night moochers. May 18th, right? Late night moochers. So I'm going to save that. So that's how the skunk is doing. Now we've got several skunks. This one is one of my favorites because it's very healthy, right? We did have a skunk that died when I was on my trip. Yeah. And it ended up dying behind a pile of plywood leaning up against a neighbor's house. And they didn't get to it in time because it was hard to reach, and the scent sacks burst. So yeah, it still smells like skunk outside a little bit, and it's been like 3 weeks since the skunk died. But I know that there's some older skunks that come around, so they don't live very long in the wild. So yeah, we expect some of them to die. Anyways, these two are funny. Yes, come on. See? That's my view from my front door. And the skunks around here have very large amounts of white fur. Yeah. It's a whole family of them that have barely any black markings on their backs. They're mostly white. Okay, so you can watch that and you can hit the like button and all that. Yeah, I'm the first to like my own video. Imagine that. And you can comment. See, they can't hear me when they're chowing down on the cat food. Okay? Because they're busy chomping. So I was able to film them easily. But as soon as I walked around the house, they took off. Yeah. And the possums around here, they don't play dead. They're very fast. They just take off. They might look at me for a second or two, but then when they realize that they're being watched, they skedaddle. Okay? So, let's see. Let's go back to making sure that I'm able to see the live stream. Okay? All right. Because I can read the comments better from this phone than I can from the phone I'm filming with. Such cool animals. I've never seen one in Canada, so they're kind of exotic. Skunks are cool too. Yeah. They are cool. They get used to you, so it gets a little bit dicey because they'll walk right past you, the skunks. If they don't think you're a threat, they just kind of walk right past you. And you're like, whoa. Chris Evans, you ever find authentic points? Yeah, I've gone hunting for arrowheads a few times, like maybe intentionally 3 times. Yeah. And I found like 6 different points from different time periods, and some are broken, some are not. So yeah, the answer to that question is yes. And one time that I went, my daughter was with me also, and she saw me find something and get all excited. Yeah, that's an opossum. Yep. In the shorts video. All right, so I'm going to get to napping here. I'm going to turn the fan on because that's too hot in here without the fan. Do you artifact hunt too? Well, I don't now. I mean, I've had opportunities to, and yeah, I found some artifacts recently, but they were like bifaces and flakes from the campsite. And tested stones. I call them tested stones because they've got, just a few flakes removed from the stones. I call those artifacts because you can clearly see that they were modified by Native Americans. They were, they tested the stones to see if they were any good. Let's see. So that counts as artifacts too, but I don't show those, or I don't keep those usually. Okay, let's see. We're going to get to napping here. And I'm going to start with this one here. This is called Presley Wash Obsidian from Arizona, from northwest Arizona. Okay, I'm curious to see how this naps. It's probably the same as every other obsidian, but it could have like defects or internal issues and cracks and little pockets of whatever these are called. All right, so here we go. I turned the fan on because it's way too hot without it. Yeah. It may interrupt the sound. Hopefully not. Before I start, I'm going to start doing this every time, even though it's gonna reduce my views. I'm going to weigh it when I start and see what kind of yield I get. When I do rock to points, I'm supposed to weigh everything first and take notes so I can see what my yield is, so you guys know how much, or get an idea how much you're going to get out of the stones you buy, right? That's one way to use that information. 1 pound, 8.6 ounces. And this is northwest Arizona. What is it called? Presley Wash. Okay, Presley Wash Obsidian. And it's green. Right? You don't have to do this kind of note-taking. This is just for informational purposes, for the inquiring minds that want to know. Oh yeah, I got to measure the length. See what I can do. I'm going to try to maximize these when I do rock to points. When I do rock to points, I'm supposed to maximize it so you'll know how much to expect from these, right? Yeah, 5 inches long. Okay? Now we're doing it right. Now we're cooking with gas. Yes. And then I weigh all the debitage and compare it to the final point. Yes. We shall do that. It takes a little bit longer to get ready, and it gets on people's nerves because I don't do Flintknapping right away. But oh well. And I get to save some of these for arrowheads. I try to maximize the yield, both in terms of the biface that I get from this and with the flakes that I get from this. So I can make little arrowheads out of this. What did they do back in the day? Well, my guess is that they would make a blade or a biface first, no matter what the time period is. And then if the time period shows that they were making little arrowheads, like in the late prehistoric, they would make a blade for a knife and then a lot of little arrowheads out of this stuff. But if it's early, like early archaic or paleo, or even in the archaic, if the points are all big, you can't make big points out of the debitage. The debitage mostly gets wasted and used as utilized flakes and not points. Okay, so as time went on, they were more efficient with the material. And that probably makes sense because, you know, after thousands of years, the sources are picked over and you don't have as many rocks available. The points started getting smaller and smaller as time went on. And that could be the reason, because the rocks became kind of scarce. All right. But it's not always the case. That was not always the case. There's no general rule that applies to everything. I'm talking in generalities. So I can make arrowheads out of these. Okay, out of these flakes. If I make them large enough, if I hit hard enough to make bigger flakes than just little ones that I call crud flakes. If I just hit gently and just only concern myself with trying to maximize it and get only one biface, but be very, gentle and only take off little flakes, I get a bunch of crud flakes that I can't use for other things. So there's that. So what I'm going to do is, no matter what time period of point that I'm going to make, I always try to get these big flakes anyways. This feels very delicate, this particular type of obsidian, and there are some natural cracks in there. You can see the difference in the patina. See how dull that is? That looks like a natural crack. And this is the brand new, freshly revealed. But it could be just that there's different consistencies in this obsidian, which is unusual. I don't see usually dull. Oh yeah, it is different. There's dull obsidian and shiny obsidian in the same obsidian. Okay, so never mind. It's not a natural crack. That's just there's dull and glossy streaks. Unusual. Yes, that's not the usual. See, I'm expose a little area so I can hit that. Hopefully get a good flake. Yes? Yes. It might be snapping half-ish, because that's a weird crack. Let's see. If this is snapping half-ish type material, I'm going to have to keep it thick. So you guys are not going to be able to see a real thin biface made out of this stuff. I'd rather have a thick biface than no biface. And there's impact fractures from nature on this. That's what all this is, little cones of percussion from natural percussion, natural shock on this piece. Either rolled around, rolled downhill, or rolled around in water or something. Yeah, like that. That's what I'm supposed to get. Flakes that I can use later, doesn't matter what time period I'm going to make, what time period point I'm going to make. Yeah. Okay. So there's no rhyme or reason to this. There's many ways you can reduce this. There's no formula for what's the best way to reduce these. In fact, I bet you there's some guys that can tell me, give me a lesson on this and help me maximize it even more. I don't know everything about reducing these. I just hit in areas that look opportunistic and look pretty good. And sometimes I get these little crud flakes that are too curved or too small to do anything with. Yeah, I can't always get perfect flaking. And I don't try either, because it's a losing battle. Yeah. I find it to be a losing battle to get perfect flakes. To try and get the perfect flake every time. Until the very end. And then I can focus more on my accuracy at the very end, where it counts the most. Yeah, because the very ending, the finishing is the hardest part. Hey, Aaron Estes is here, $1.99 super chat. Let's see who else arrived. Who else has arrived and snuck in? Thank you for the super chat. Let's see, who else is here? What's up, you guys? Yeah, we're just doing a live stream. Red-Eyed Patriot is here. That blue suede obsidian. Yeah, this is actually green, right? Do you see it as blue? It's like an olive green. It's some of the most unusual obsidian I've seen because it has dull and glossy streaks in it. It feels like it's buttery, but I'm worried that it's going to be snap and half-ish. I might have to be very, very careful and make it thick. Stoneface is here. Red-Eyed Patriot, or Michael, is one of our moderators too, so we got a full house here. Let's see. Lance says your phone has a mic setting called voice isolation. It basically filters out ambient noise like fans. I have 2 fans running wide open in my videos and you can just barely hear them. Let's see. Has a mic setting. Yeah, I need to look at that. Well, I can look at it here. These are the same kind of Android phones. Let me see if I can find that real quick. I'm going to pause for station identification here while I see if I can see that setting. Because if I can't see the setting, either I'm retarded or I don't have it. Now, let's see if it has microphone. Probably doesn't. I probably had to look up microphone in the settings. Yeah. Okay, so you do the I do the search for microphone. It better come up with something useful. Let's see. Microphone access controls and alerts. Microphone access alert when clip. See, it says microphone access. Yeah. And then alert when clipboard, whatever. Block access to the microphone. See, that doesn't get me anywhere, so that doesn't matter. What else? Microphone. Okay, so I search for microphone, right? And all I get is microphone access. It doesn't have microphone settings. I have an Android phone. You might be talking about iPhones. Okay? So that's all I get when I search the microphone controls. Just the access and the alert. If I hit the microphone access, it just gives me the option to block it or cancel. Okay, that's it. That's all I got for settings as far as I know, unless you can guide me further. Try sound settings maybe. Yeah, see, now we're getting into the maybes. This could take forever because there's lots of maybes I can think of. Yeah. Yeah, see the iPhone. See, he's talking about iPhone. See, we don't get much choice with our microphones and stuff. Let's see. This is sounds and vibrations, so. But this only does the stupid stuff. Yeah, it doesn't allow me to control the microphone. Or to change the settings on the microphone, as far as I know. Anyways, here we go. Let's continue with this, with the bopper, because we're masochistic. I usually switch over to indirect percussion at this stage. But we're going to continue because I want to risk it. Yeah. I want to take risks and make people upset and bite their fingernails watching me. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, cringe. Yeah, make people cringe at how I nap. It's always fun to imagine people cringing because of the way I nap. Yeah. And I'm pointing the fan toward the phone because there's another thing that happens with my phone is that it overheats. It's probably not hot enough to overheat right now because it's only like 79 degrees. It decreased by 1 degree since I turned the fan on, but it can still overheat, I think, at 80 degrees. All right, so the easy part's over for me. Okay, so we're gonna move into stages that are harder now, the thinning stages. Okay, so I got basically a solid chunk here. Looks like there's no issues, so I'm gonna look at this as the size of the potential biface. Yeah, I think we're pretty close. If nothing happens, like no catastrophes, we should be cooking with gas. Mr. Jim sent a payment. I got a notification. Thank you, thank you. Thanks, Jim. All right, so here we go. We're moving into this stage. Normally I would clean this up. Hold on. Let's just do what we normally do, right? Before I go to the next stage, I clean up a little bit. Yeah. 'Cause that's the way I roll. Yeah, we'll just do it this way. I've got to, reset the scale to take into account the bowl and all that stuff. So I did write down the weight of the bowl, didn't I? 2.1 ounces or something like that. So if I forget, I can always subtract the weight of the bowl that way. Right? Right.
What are you talking about, man? What is this? Is this some kind of chemistry class or something?
No, it's Flintknapping class. I'm weighing this so we can know what the yield is. Yeah, it's Flintknapping class. You didn't know? Yeah, we goof around in the live stream. Yes, I know. It's not a formal classroom. But a lot of people are here to learn, okay? All right. Some people are here to hang out. Some people are here to try to fall asleep. It doesn't matter exactly why you're here. I don't care too much as long as you don't spam the chat. Yeah. Welcome everybody except spammers. We don't have very many spammers, which is good. I've been in other chats. I've been in other chats that there's lots of spammers. They'll just say the same thing over and over and over again. It's okay if you say the same thing over and over again if you're trying to ask a question and I don't see it because I'm blind or I'm not paying attention. I don't pay attention the whole time to the chat because I'm doing Flintknapping. Okay? So if you've got a question and I don't answer it, you can either ask it in a super chat. I'll probably see that easily, or you just you can keep asking. That's fine. You can spam questions. I don't, as long as they're relevant to Flintknapping, and know when you ask,
What are you doing?
it's not relevant to Flintknapping because that's just a general question. I don't answer.
What are you doing?
I also don't answer.
Is that obsidian?
I don't answer that one either. Should be obvious to you if you're an adult. If you're a little kid, first of all, it might be past your bedtime. You need to check that. And number two, just keep watching. Yeah. You might be able to figure it out on your own, by yourself. Yeah. Or you take a screenshot and then show it to Google and say,
Okay, Google, what is this? Is this obsidian?
so you don't have to ask me. Google will look at your screenshot and tell you if it's obsidian or not. Or whatever AI you're using. Yeah. Just take a screenshot and ask whatever AI you're using, what is it? What in the wide, wide world of live streams is this? Instead of asking me. Of course, someone nice in the chat might answer you. We got a lot of nice guys in the chat that'll be very patient, especially with little kids. They'll answer questions and stuff, which is perfectly fine. I just don't answer them anymore because I found myself spending a lot of time answering just simple questions. So this is very crackly. Yeah, I'm afraid to start thinning it down a lot. Yes, I'm afraid. I'm scared. It's a figure of speech. I don't want to break this on video. A lot of Flintknapping is risk management. How much risk am I willing to take according to how it's reacting? If it's reacting like it's going to snap in half, I can't take very much risk. So that's where the I'm afraid to hit it comes from. Feels like it's going to crumble or it's just going to smash all the pieces. I'm also not going to answer questions on what are the angles because they vary. The angles are pretty much the same as they are in pressure flaking. So if you know how to pressure flake, just pretend you're pressure flaking with this thing. Set it up like a pressure flake and just hit it. Okay? What you're doing is using percussion instead of pressure. So it's the same, basically the same types of flakes, just bigger. That's why we use percussion. It produces bigger flakes in most cases. Like that. See, you can't do that with pressure. Unless you're Hercules. And there are some guys out there that are very close to being Hercules. So, I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking about guys that can only make little flakes with pressure. If you can do little flakes with pressure, you can just transfer the angles over to percussion. And maybe tweak the angles a little bit. And you'll probably have to grind a lot more than you've been grinding before. And see how it goes. Practice, practice. Practice, practice, practice. And if you break a lot of stuff, that's okay because you're learning the limits of the stone and you're learning your own limits. Stay within your limits. Stay within your limits and within the limits of the stone. Stay within the limits when you're new. You can explore a little bit when you're new, but I don't recommend exploring too much because then you'll waste a lot of material. Just stay within your limits. If all you can make is bifaces, that's fine. Just keep making lots of bifaces and save them up. If you find some good material, it seems to be knapping awesome. Better than other material. I recommend saving at least some of that stuff and don't just dive into it like you're a madman or something. Because now you found something that works, you're going to abuse it. Yeah. No, just calm down a little bit and save some of it. You can knap some of it, yes, but save some of the good stuff for later. You'll thank me later. Yeah. And practice on glass or stuff you can get for free. As much as you can. Until you get sick of it, then you can spend some money on stones or whatever. I recommend not spending too much money unless you're sick of knapping glass or sick of knapping ceramic tile or any kind of porcelain. Not ceramic tile, but go with porcelain tile. Floor tiles and stuff like that. Or anything made of porcelain. Ceramic is not that great in quality. You need to be knapping porcelain. And yeah, you can knap porcelain plates and cups and stuff. As long as it's high grade stuff. Yeah, you can break them or you can find some broken ones and tell people, don't throw away your broken coffee mugs, dude. I'm going to make some stuff with that. Because I'm the recycle master. You know, and people will say, oh, cool, recycle master? Yeah, I'm a recycle master. I'll make stuff. you don't even need to discuss what you're making. They'll ask,
Okay, what are you gonna make?
and you'll go,
I'm making stuff. Yeah. Nothing yet, but I'm trying. Oh, I see.
yeah, you don't have to get into an in-depth conversation. Some people don't ask for stuff because they don't want to get into a conversation. Just learn to not reveal too much of what you're doing. And if they think you're weird, that's cool. They won't ask you any more questions if they think you're weird. All right? How do I know these things happen? I don't know. Hey, somebody mentioned me on Facebook. I don't want to see that. I don't even know that person. I think what they do is they post these mentions if they're trying to sell something, and they want everyone to see, here, I'm trying to sell this. Anyways, I'm whittling this down little by little and getting the preliminary thinning done. I'll let you know when the next stage occurs, because I'll pause and I'll check the chat. Right now I'm doing the preliminary thinning, and then the final thinning is the most difficult thing in Flintknapping. Everyone who's been watching the channel for a while knows these stages. And if you don't know about stages, you're missing out. Yeah. Where you been? Been living under rocks. Most people have been living under rocks. Funny how that works. Most Flintknappers have been living under rocks, and they end up just watching one or two channels, and that's it. They'll watch the popular ones that have nice presentations, but not much knowledge. Yeah, it's just like, what do they call it? Comic book knowledge or something? What do they call it when it's just for show. It's kind of flashy. They'll tell you the things that are interesting to hear, but you're not going to hear much knowledge, because when you start to give people knowledge, their eyes glaze over and they go, oh, okay.
I mean, I'd love to listen to it, but man, it's so boring. Dang it, I don't hear anything interesting really. That's something that doesn't get me going. Doesn't give me energy to listen to knowledge.
Yeah, I know.
I need energy to... This knowledge stuff makes my head hurt.
Yeah, okay. See? Okay, so that's why I probably don't get that many viewers, because I don't really say stuff that would give me a lot of attention. Yeah. All right, we're starting to get into the next stage. I can feel we're into the next stage because I'm starting to get nervous. Okay, so the preliminary thinning is done. The hardest part of Flintknapping is coming up, which is the final thinning. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to clean up and pause for station identification, and then we'll resume our regularly scheduled programming after I check the chat. Yes? Yes. And no, you can't have these flakes because I use them. I mean, I don't use the crud flakes. I use the good ones. The ones you want in there, I use them. Yes, I do. Eventually. Oh yeah, I bought a bunch of stuff. I'm going to show you my stash of rocks very soon, because I bought some little crates, little like plastic baskets to hold my rocks, so I can start sorting stuff into similar types of rocks. Right now, everything's kind of mixed together. And I can start sorting and stacking all my rock challenges separately from my personal stashes. Yeah, I have rock challenges. I'll be doing rock challenges twice a week. Thursdays and Tuesdays are my rock challenge days, where I get rocks from people that say, can you knap it for me, please? I mean, I want to see if you can get some out of it. I got lots of those stacked up, and I haven't gotten to them because I've been doing other things. Yeah. too many other things, so I have to now do live streams every day if I want to catch up. Anyways, I can set my schedule a lot easier now that I'm not married and I don't have kids that are young. My kids are grown up now, so they're not highly dependent anymore. I can finally plan things. Finally. But it takes time to get used to planning. Alright, so 2 stages are done. The first stage of bifacing is done, and then the preliminary thinning is done. Now comes the hardest part of flint knapping, so we're going to take a break and check the chat. That is our usual procedure. Okay? All right. I knew you'd agree. I knew you'd go along with it. Yeah. All right, so here we go. We're looking at the chat. Let's see. Been on the hunt for Jasper. Prairie Ghost Ken has been on the hunt for Jasper. Have you been on the hunt for Georgia Jasper? There's plenty of Georgia Jasper sold by Jeff Head.
No, not that kind of Jasper. Anything else? Anything else with that one?
Okay, so. Hey, Tony Williams, good evening. Let's see. Explorer Nation X made a necklace from a sweet flake I made a point from, posted on the community. Awesome. Let's see. Jim Main is here, right? He's talking about something's tough. Found several points from it, though. Okay, we're talking about something else. Johnstone is not that great. It varies. It's a mixed bag. You know, toilet tank, not toilet bowl. You don't want to nap the bowl part because it's just nasty. The tank part that holds the water. Besides, the tank part is flat. It's got flat sides. It's easier to nap the flat parts of the toilet porcelain. Okay? All right.
Wait a second. Where am I?
You're on the weird side of YouTube. We're flint nappers. We have our own vocabulary and stuff, and we do stuff that sounds strange. Let's see. Yeah, I'm the Bob Ross of flint napping, says Alan. I wish. Let's see. Somebody's been trying to nap local quartzite? You guys are crazy. Prairie Ghost Ken says, it was painful wasting so much material, but I learned the basics of percussion and pressure flaking just going ham on a pile of obsidian. Yeah. Light Eater Group. This is so peaceful, man. I love learning and watching your videos while trying to fall asleep. I am so glad that you are able to fall asleep to the videos. And I'm glad you commented. Just don't comment too much because it wakes you up, right? It wakes me up if I start commenting if I'm trying to fall asleep and I'm scrolling. Anyways, where are we? Very true. I learned a lot doing that and made some pretty nice points with glass. Let's see. Pyrolithics is here. Usually freeze-cracked chert you would make small bird points from. Yeah. 20-pound bucket of gravel before your first point. Isn't it a rite of passage to make a 20-pound bucket of gravel before your first point? Yeah, I'd say so. But I made like 60 pounds of gravel before my first point, probably. Well, I can't say that. I did make my first point from flakes. I just napped around the edges of flakes. Yeah, so that didn't take very much. Ian Hermson, chert in my area, eastern Iowa, is usually freeze fracture, definitely makes lots of gravel napping. Yep, that is true. In the colder weather, there is lots of freeze cracked stones. Just going to have to dig down a little bit. If you're able to dig down, go ahead and do it. If it's not illegal. Pyrolithics says I have a tendency to over-thin my bifaces. Yeah, welcome. It's easy to over-thin. Believe it or not. Why Why is it so easy to overthin, but so difficult to not overthin? That's the question. Jim Main says, try any of that mook yet? Who are you asking? Let's see. Marty's here. I did another napping presentation today. Sweet. Marty Wybe. His name is Marty. He lives in North Dakota. See, who else we got in the house? Can you make a boomerang? Lee asked me if I can make a boomerang. Yeah, but this is not boomerang making. This is arrowhead making. Right? Right. Do I have one that I can show? I used to have one I can show. But I didn't. I didn't leave it out. I have casts of arrowheads. Hold on a second. Need to put one out so at least we can point to it. And I can make fun of you and say, does this look like a darn boomerang to you? This is what we're trying to make, stuff like this. This is a plastic cast or a copy. Plastic copy. And I also have like templates. I have templates. Clovis. First view, small first view template. Then I have a modern knife blade templates. Yeah, you can make stuff like this out of stones, rocks and stuff. It's amazing. But no boomerangs. No. That's one of the weirdest questions I've gotten. Oh yeah, this is still on the challenge agenda, making a shark's head knife. I can make one of these out of stone. I made a smaller one, but I need to make a big one. And then put it on the knife handle. But yeah, we'll just leave this out like we normally do, so that the background jockeys that are experts at analyzing what's going on, because they instantly recognize what's in the background, that might help you. Let's see. So I normally look for questions when I check the chat. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And sometimes I'll inject myself into someone else's conversation, because it's my live stream and I can do what I want. Ryan Epps, just want to say you're awesome. Been watching your videos for years and you have taught me so much about Flintknapping. Well, thank you, Ryan. That's awesome for you to say that. Very nice. Is there any places online where I can get slag glass? Yeah, Etsy. Etsy. Let's see. Do I have... I can search Etsy. Hold on a second. Do I have... No, I don't have Etsy in this. I gotta go to the regular interwebs. Etsy slag glass. Slag glass. I had to type with one finger because I'm dyslexic if I end up typing with multiple fingers or do this. I switched the letters around if I got two digits going. But I can get them in the correct order if I only have one finger doing it. Most of the time. Sometimes even if I have only one finger, I'll be dyslexic when typing. Okay? So I typed in Etsy slag glass. Okay. Let's see what it yields. Oh, there it goes. It says decorative chunk of recycled slag. Then you have Sasquatch on Etsy. You got a bunch of Etsy people, right? Now, you could have asked your AI search engine the same question, and they would have recommended Etsy. All of these are Etsy, right? So it's not just like one obscure person on Etsy that no one ever sees or knows about. There's a lot of different sellers that sell this. And some of these are uranium glass. Yeah, radioactive glass. I don't recommend napping that because we produce a lot of dust, and you don't want radioactive dust in your lungs or sinuses. All right, so I'm never going to recommend this uranium stuff. And people have asked me,
Hey, dude, have you napped that cool glow-in-the-dark stuff? It's so cool. Yeah, do it.
no, I'm not going to do it. Okay? All right. Now, I will nap stuff that is fluorescent, right? Or, you put a UV light on it and it turns that bright color or whatever. But I'm not going to nap uranium glass. Anyway, so yeah, it works when you put in Etsy slag glass, okay? Hopefully that answers that question. And you'll be saving your pennies for that, or you should be. You should be saving your pennies for that stuff. What do we got here? We got a bunch of flying bugs. The flying bugs are starting to come out. All right, so I checked the chat. I think there's no more questions. We're going to go back to this and see. Or maybe start on the next piece. How much time do I got? I've already been napping an hour. Let's break into this. I'm curious about this one. All right, so we'll put that one on hold and we'll try to make a biface out of this, right? Or no? No, I should actually wait until I get the weights. Wait until I get the weights on this. Yeah, and do this when I can get the weights on this. Yeah, wait for the weights. There we go. False alarm. Going back to this, so we can get we're gonna have to wait on the weights. English is so weird as a language. Yeah. And not only is it weird, but since everyone speaks English, it doesn't give you an incentive to speak any other languages. Yeah. Other languages are not as weird. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Yes, we got green obsidian on a green background. I planned this really well. I'm just gonna have to make doo-doo with what I got. I picked a green background, a light green background, because it's springtime. Yeah. But for some reason, I also picked a light green obsidian. Because that's the way I roll. I don't want you guys to see exactly what's going on. I don't want to reveal my ancient Chinese secrets. Yeah. Remember that commercial back in the day? I think it was for a laundry detergent. Ancient Chinese secret. It applies to Flintknapping too. There's lots of ancient Chinese secrets in Flintknapping. You didn't know? Oh well. You've been living under rocks again. If you didn't know that. What is this? It's a diamond file. It's got little diamonds in it. I'm rich. I use files with diamonds in it. I got so much money. Yes or no? Some people don't know what diamond files are. So I'm going to mess with them. Say that I'm so rich that I use diamonds in the files that I use. Yeah. No, these are cheapos. $7 for a good supply of files from Harbor Freight. It's a needle file set. Make sure you get the diamond ones and not the other ones. The ones for woodworking or whatever, or for metal, they're not that good on stone. Okay. And if I smash the edge a lot, I need to abrade it and dull it so it doesn't smash the edge a lot. Yeah. I don't want to be Sir Smash-a-Lot. No. Now keep in mind, if this looks easy, your eyes are deceiving you. Okay? This is the hardest part of all of Flintknapping. To get this thin down without breaking it. It requires risk management, accuracy, and a little bit of pain and suffering. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. Yeah. Okay? Just so you know. What was that message? Someone sent me something. Right when I'm trying to do the hardest part of Flintknapping. Don't they know that the hardest part of Flintknapping requires no interruptions? No interruption. No. It's gonna crack and stuff. It's gonna crack and stuff. What is that noise? I put down the mallet. Yeah, I got lots of stuff in the shop. Everything is bumping up next to each other. I'm gonna build a bigger shop. I don't know when. I got plenty of land here. Plenty of space, I mean, not plenty of land. I mean, yeah, I guess there's land. So I got no excuse. I got plenty of space to put another shop that's bigger. Actually, I'm going to put in 2 other ones. Because I'm going to start building bows and stuff again. I don't like mixing everything together in one shop. This place gets super dusty with rock dust. Rock dust is different than sawdust. It's a whole different ball game, both in terms of health hazard and in the way that you need to clean up. It's different. I'd much rather deal with sawdust than rock dust. Unless I'm allergic to the wood. That's a bummer, but usually I'm not allergic to the wood. Maybe it causes slight irritation sometimes. I am allergic to some wood species. Some trees really bug me when I work the wood, but it's not going to build up in my lungs and cause silicosis. Not like rock dust. There's a different way to treat them. Anyway, I'm going to have separate shops for my stones and for my wood. Yeah. And like I said, us Flintknappers, we got strange vocabularies. So, fair warning. All right. I'm thinning from every possible angle, every possible portion on the edge. Try to get it thin without too thin, and then I'll get the ratio. I'm trying not to go too thin with this. This is a live stream, and people like to watch live streams for entertainment, and I understand. So I'm going to try to prevent the enormous bummer if I break it. Yeah, people can't stand it when I break this stuff. It causes, like, dysfunctions. Yeah. People get all dysfunctionized. Yeah, that's a Flintknapping term. It happens when being a spectator of Flintknapping. Yeah. You didn't know, huh? What did I say? Dysfunctionized? Yeah, it's some weird. There's a lot of weird things about Flintknapping, and one of them is if you see someone crash and burn, it's worse than any other sport. In other sports, people actually sometimes look forward to watching a crash or a mistake or a foul or whatever. It's interesting. But in Flintknapping, if there's a mistake or foul or something, people get all dysfunctionized. Yeah, I think Flintknapping is a lot like a sport because it's got risk involved and requires lots of practice, and two people can be doing exactly the same thing with very different results. Yeah. Like two baseball players can both be playing baseball, but one is able to hit home runs and the other was just barely gets on base. But you look at their techniques, they're the same. You look at their body built, they're the same height, same weight, same muscle structure, everything is the same. It looks like the same guy is up to bat, but one guy hits home runs and the other one barely gets on base. How is that possible? Same with Flintknapping. A new guy can't get anywhere, but he's using the exact same technique. He's got the exact same physical build, using the exact same tools, exact same angles, and he's not getting anywhere near the results of the more experienced Flintknapper. But it looks the same. It looks like the same napper had amnesia or all of a sudden stayed at the Holiday Inn and now can nap beautiful stuff. And you don't know it's a different napper until they tell you.
Yeah, but they look exactly the same. They're using exactly the same tools. Doesn't make any sense.
Yes, I know it doesn't, because it's a lot like a sport, and not like not like one of those other craft skills. Okay, it's not like other crafts. And I should know because I have lots of hobbies. I do lots of crafts. Hence the name for the channel. But I got stuck doing Flintknapping because everyone wants to learn it. Wait a second, there's a super chat. Hey, he thanked me for the package. Where's my other phone? Let's see. You're welcome for the package. Let's see what it says. What does he say? Come on. There it is. Thank you very much. $4.99 super chat. Hey Patrick, thank you for the package. It came in the mail today. You're very welcome. Let's see. I've been telling people about the Holiday Inn for years. Says Bobby Estes, or Aaron. His name's Aaron. Yeah, tell everybody. Make them go over there. Maybe their Flintknapping will get better the day after. Yeah. It does get better if you get a good night's sleep. I mean, that's a thing. Ed says he's heading out. He needs to get some sleep. Yeah, head out and go night-night. Did everyone forget to hit the like button? Maybe. Yeah. And there's this little heart thing on the side too, and you can go heart, 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 smile, 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 confetti, 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 surprise, 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 and then 100%, 100%, 100%. I think that helps too, but I don't know. You know, hit these little doodads. All right, so let's see. You're welcome, Ed. We'll see you next time. What else is going on? If I miss your question, I apologize. Jim Main is going home too. See you later, Jim. Oh yeah, I should go ballistic and make a powdered point one of these nights. Yeah. That'll be fun. Tony Williams, have you seen the buildings that fold out? They are really cheap and fast to put up. Check them out. Yeah. I've got a plastic shed. I could buy another plastic shed and put another one up, but I want a real shed that I can put some heavy-duty shelves on the walls, you know, that holds hundreds of pounds, so I can stack my rocks up on shelves and have a sturdy shop that won't, you know, fall over in the wind because it's got so many hundreds of pounds of rocks up on shelves, right? Because in our business, everything weighs a ton. Yeah, literally. Why do I want to put rocks up on shelves? Because right now I have them all on the floor of my basement. It's a bummer to have to sort through stuff while I'm in my basement. It's only a 4-foot crawl space. Yeah, I want to be able to stand up like a normal person. You know, and have shelves that are 8 to 10 feet high. Yeah, it'd be awesome. Let's see here. Justin Cornelius is here. He says Hobo Freight is my favorite store. Yeah, mine too. Yeah. Yep. I spend so much at Hobo Freight, it's not even funny. Jim Cooper is here. The Puget Sound Nappers have a couple of international members from China. Oh, dang. Do they have ancient Chinese secrets? Oh, yeah, Calgon detergent. Yeah, see, my Flintknapping journey. He knows. Calgon. Before memes were created, or before the name meme was popular, there were memes before memes. Yeah, and the Calgon thing was one of them. I buy most of my materials from Danny, says Jim Main. Excellent stuff. Yeah, Danny Collins sells a lot of good stuff. If you don't know who that is, you can ask your AI, your favorite one. Explore Nation X says, I got so much material for free, I think the universe was screaming at me to nap. Yeah, or to sell napping supplies. You don't have to nap at all. Some people are, like the meme says, some men are drowning, some men are dying of thirst when it comes to material. So help out those that are dying of thirst. Let's see. Pyrolithics says, I have to conserve my napping material. It's hard for me to get material. There you go. See? Some people are dying of thirst while some men drown. That's a meme. Yeah. At least I see that when I'm scrolling around the internet. Let's see here. Glass Buttes is a good place to get stuff. Anyways, go to Knapping's. That way you can get lots of questions answered and you can see stone firsthand so you can kind of understand what's good to nap and what isn't. And you can try samples like little flakes and stuff. When you're at the Knapping, you can ask for flakes. And you can try a little pressure flaking episodes on these little flakes. But if you're allergic to people, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Yeah. Let's see. Chris says, I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express this past Thursday. Did you get smarter? Did you get immunized from the effects of breaking stuff on video or watching people break stuff on video? Did you get immunized from that, or does it still give you PTSD? If staying at the Holiday Inn will, if staying at the Holiday Inn will prevent PTSD from watching people break napping stuff on video, then stay there.
Dude, why do you talk that way? Why do you gotta do that?
My brain races to the end of my thought. So I've got to back up my brain and say step by step by step by step. Just step by step. Okay, calm down. Let's see. Aaron Estes, I bet you got gooder if you stayed at the Holiday Inn Express. Yeah. Everyone gets gooder. Let's see. Let's see, Mr. Jim. All right, so I'm going to go back to napping since I don't see questions, right? It only lets me go back a certain ways too. I can only go back in the chat maybe 30 minutes or so. Pyrolytics is thinking of starting a Flintknapping YouTube channel. Do it. That way people can ask you what you're doing instead of always asking me what I'm doing. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Just go ask the other guy. He's just started his brand new channel. You can go ask him all that. Yeah. I'll send people over to your channel. You're welcome. No, I don't want those kind of people on my channel. Please don't do it. Sorry, everyone's got to go through that. Everybody's got to go through it. That's the rite of passage. You got to answer all these obvious questions. Because people who have information, the whole world of information at their fingertips, they'd rather ask the question,
What are you doing?
instead of utilizing the tools that they have available. We're so lucky we have informational tools and we don't use them. You know, I guess many of those guys are just little kids. But still, even if you're a little kid, you can use the information at your fingertips and learn how to search. Learn how to recognize BS. Yeah, there's a lot of BS out there, so learn to sort through it.
Yeah, I'm learning to sort through it by asking just questions, because if I ask a human, it's better.
Yeah, you think it's better. It may or may not be better. Look at that. That's an inclusion of something sparkly. See those sparklies? That's debris from spaceships, alien spaceships, this stuff. See that? That's a piece of alien spaceship trapped in obsidian that's hundreds of thousands of years old, dude. Look at that. It's got metal in it. See? There's proof right there. You never know. Yeah. No, there's a lot of crackpots on the internet. I haven't heard that one. But, you know, there's always a first. Always a first time, you know, never know. Someone could be watching my channel going, hey, I haven't tried that one yet. Maybe I can get attention if I say that there's parts of alien spaceships in rocks. And it proves that they were here millions of years ago. Because look, it looks like metal. It looks like some kind of metal. And they'd be right sometimes because pyrite exists. Yeah. Yeah, I take liberties, and most of these guys know that I kid a lot on these live streams. Yeah. You don't know when I'm kidding and when I'm not, if you're brand new. You might think,
Oh, this guy believes in aliens? What am I doing here? What in the world is going on the weird side of YouTube these days. Yeah, you don't know. He don't know me too well, do he? And if you meet me in person, I'm not that impressive as far as goofing around. I'm not going to be goofing around in person. So don't be expecting that if you ever meet me in person. Don't be expecting a lot of goofing around. Nope. One of my friends, he said it real nicely one day. He says, you know what? You know what, Pat? You got another side to you. You know that? I said, yeah, I know. Another side to me. Yes, I know. I know that. And my kids will probably say, yeah, he's got the weird side. You should watch his videos. They're so weird. So weird. Yeah, they're probably weird for my kids because they're used to seeing me very serious. Yeah, you can't goof around too much as a dad when they're growing up. Because they kids especially, they zero in on weakness. And they'll try to get away with stuff. Because they think you're weak. Especially if you stutter or if you goof around. It's like, nah, he's not a serious person. You know, he's not gonna be in a position to tell me what to do. You know, that kind of thing. But I'm over that phase. Yeah. No one prepares you for that stuff. I still see a lot of sparkle. I might leave that in there. Can you see the sparkling on that one? No? Because all it takes is a little bit of a pressure flake to pop that out. But I might leave that in there. Anyway, I think that's as thin as I want to go. I'm starting to get very nervous about thinning it even further than that. Although I see some opportunities. And if it looks easy, your eyes are deceiving you. And yeah, I already said that, but I want to reiterate that this is the hardest part of Flintknapping. And yeah, I'm goofing around because I really don't need to focus all that much. I'll stop talking if I need to focus a lot. But believe it or not, you can be doing something, I mean, with me, I can be doing something totally different or talking about something totally different and still able to nap. So it's a different part of the brain doing the napping. Yeah. Weird, huh? It's almost like our brains developed to do stuff like this without thinking about it. Yeah, it took out all the complicated stuff, and we don't need to think about the complicated stuff. We don't even need language to do this. It's just monkey see, monkey do. And our brains take over. Yeah, you just do this enough, and you don't need language to learn this. The brain takes over. And a lot of this Flintknapping stuff cannot be expressed through language. Different techniques, different the feel of napping. How do you express the feel of napping? Like what tools do you pick? Why is it that some people can understand convexity better than others? Why is it that some people can do certain things that seem easy to them? How do you explain a natural ability to do something? All you can do is identify it. You can't really explain, well, how you doing it. If it's a natural ability, you don't know how you're doing it. It's just, you're just doing it. Okay, so I reached the limit. That indicates that I've reached the limit. Yeah. When it starts peeling off the edge like this, and it makes it make a mistake, that means it's getting too thin for my skill level. Yeah.
So I gotta back off and say that's it. That's good enough for the thinning. Just a few more flakes, perhaps here and there, and we'll just make something from it. Or what I can do is I can pretend it's already finished and then weigh everything and see the yield. Because the finish point is going to be very similar in weight to this. Because all I do now is I'm going to take off some of the edge to trim this edge so that it's all nice and smooth again, and then put notches in it and sharpen it. I'm not going to lose much weight off of this. So let me stop here and move on to the other piece of obsidian. Let me weigh this. Okay, let's see. Let's go through this procedure. Where is my other boxes? I need to transfer some stuff so I can dump these flakes and get the right weights. Dump the flakes in there so that I can get that bowl zeroed out. What I mean? Anyways, so we're going to take a little pause from our regularly scheduled programming to get some weights here. And if you don't like me doing this, you can tell me and I won't be doing it too much anymore. Okay? But you want to see what the yield is. 80% of my viewers are brand new to my channel. They may know about knapping, a lot of them, but they haven't seen me do this.
What are you doing?
Just go ask someone else. Yeah. Ask in the chat. Maybe someone will answer you. I mean, ask somebody else in the chat. Like,
does anybody here know what he's doing?
yes, please ask that so we can all get a good chuckle.
Please, someone in the chat. What is he doing? Tell me. You guys, and you guys know?
Oh yeah, I need to do this. Why is this even important? This brings back memories of when I used to do labs in college. We did all kinds of materials studies. I was studying to be a structural engineer for several years. I went to school in college went to college for 4.5 years. Engineering school. I was on a 6-year program. Structural engineering. Just for a bachelor's degree. 6 years. Anyways, we did a lot of labs. So we would do stuff like this. Maybe not with debitage, but you know, similar type stuff. So this brings back some good memories and some bad memories. But no, I did not get my degree in engineering. I got my degree in drafting. But they would usually stick me in a engineer type position so they wouldn't have to pay their engineer. So I worked several jobs like, well, not several. I worked a couple jobs like that. Because they knew I could do stuff like that. Alright, so here we go. Ready? I got my degree in computer-aided drafting, so I got PTSD from doing too much stuff with computers. So now I avoid it like the plague. Alright, so we zeroed that out. Let's weigh everything together. Okay. We're gonna Why do I do this again when I did this in the very beginning? Well, it shows how much we lose, right, to the shatter that goes everywhere else. that has some relevance when you're studying an archaeological site. Not all the debitage related to points is going to be within a small area. Some of the debitage is going to be scattered, and the flakes are going to fly out of the area of knapping. So this will give you an idea of how much actually gets captured easily. Where is my darn pen? I have multiple pens for just this occasion, right? But I think I've lost all my multiple pens. Yeah. Am I looking right at it? Sometimes I look right at it and I don't see it. No. Well, we're going to switch over to... I always have a pencil. No, let's see. This is ridiculous. No, that's too fat. All right, so we're going to do this. 1 pound, 8.7 ounces. 1 pound, 8.1 ounce. Is what we got now. Okay? For all of it. All right. This marker's got a tip that's really fat, so that's not the one I want. Where the heck did it go? I had it stuck to this. That's what's so annoying. So annoying about ADHD. All right, so then this by itself. What is going on? This thing's going crazy. All right, we zeroed that out. That one weighs 1.3 ounces. So how do we get the yield? All right, so this 1 pound 8.1 ounce is like 24.1 ounces. Yeah, 16 plus 8 is 24. 24.1 ounce. And this is 1.3 ounce. So we can get a percentage yield from that. Okay. Let's see, 1.3 divided by 24.1. 5.4%.
Yeah, but you always say 5%, so what you did was you guessed that this would be 5% yield.
No, I did not guess. I'm not that good. But my yield is usually around 5%. Sometimes 4% from the original rock when I try to maximize it. I'm not trying for a specific point style. I'm trying to maximize from the original rock that I start with. And it's usually around 5%. Okay? So people want to know how to maximize something. So I'm showing you how I knapped it to maximize it. But even when I try to do that, the average is about 5% yield by weight. Now I can make more stuff from this, so the yield goes up. But most people are not interested in this stuff. They're interested in maximizing it for this. That's what most people are interested in, especially for selling it. It takes a lot of time to... let me scrape off some of this. I got little pieces of obsidian stuck in my arm there. Anyways, most people don't spend the time it takes to make arrowheads from this to sell, because adding these all up just barely adds up to the same amount as one of these when they try to sell. In most cases, I'm talking generalities. So they don't bother. I'm talking about yield by amount of time you put into it. Okay? There's another yield thing. How much yield is it for the time you put into it? These yield more income for the time you put into it. The larger the better. So that's why I do it this way, and I'm showing you this. Okay? All right. What else? What else? Let's go to the next piece of obsidian. Let's move on. That was good. I'm gonna make something out of that later, off camera. Yeah, because I know I'm gonna have to be more delicate with it off camera, so I don't do this again. What's the ratio on this? What's the ratio? You'll see. Just keep watching. It's 42 millimeters wide by, I think it's 8 millimeters thick. Yeah, 42 by 8. Makes it kind of easy. It's like 5 to 1, between 5 to 1 and 6 to 1. So we'll just call it 5 to 1. It's the ratio. And I did that because I didn't want to go too thin with it. My usual ratio is 6 to 1, but like I said, I tried to keep this a little bit thicker. Even so, it still did that. What did it do? It still did this mistake, even if it's thicker than I usually have it. So that does indicate that this is a very delicate material. Okay, so it's better that I finish this off camera when I can focus better. Let's do the next. I got plenty of this stuff, so I might finish this one out. How much time? An hour and a half. I've already been on an hour and a half. Okay. Let's break into this other one. Let's do the easy part. Yay. I'm gonna do the easy part now. What are my tools? I didn't go over that in the beginning, did I? At the beginning of the other one. 5/16 inch diameter rods. 3/8 inch diameter rods. They're copper, solid copper. They're not grounding rods. They're not steel in the middle. They're solid copper. You can get these on eBay. The 5/16 inch diameter, even though it's smaller and lighter, costs like 3 times more than the 3/8 inch diameter. Probably because the 5/16 is not a common measurement for these kinds of rods. Okay? But you can find them on eBay. And then these, I think I measured these or weighed these the other day. I got a set of 5. Where's the other one? Sometimes it's important for people to know this because they get lost if they don't have a baseline. Where's the other one? The biggest one is missing. It's probably hanging out with my pen over at where they're not supposed to be. Yeah, over at the bar or the gentleman's club where they're not supposed to be. That's why they're missing. Where are they? Ah, okay. So I caught you. Where's the pen? Where's the pen? What did you do with it? Anyways, I bought a set of 5. I use these two primarily, 14 ounce, I guess, or 13 point something ounces and 8 ounces. Okay, so people want to know that. Inquiring minds want to know that. What else can I do? Oh yeah, I got to measure this. And weighing is a form of measurement, so shut up. One pound, 11.5. And this is like, this is black banded obsidian. Okay, probably from Glass Buttes. So I start with that, and it's how long? Well, how long was this? Okay, this one ended up being a little over 4 3/8. I did measure the original spot, the original piece. Okay, so 4 3/8. But I didn't write down the original length. I did measure it, but I didn't write down the measurement. It's 4.5. This one is 4.5. So we'll write down, make sure that's... This is start. Okay, these are the start measurements. All right. Yes, yes. I'm going to use the 8 ounce instead of going with the larger, because this is obsidian. It's much easier to knap. I don't need to use a lot of force. Okay, so what we're going to try to do is maximize it for a biface. But at the same time, I do want to make other arrowheads from this. So I'm going to try to remove large pieces instead of primarily focusing on just the biface. I'm going to try to get large pieces I can use later for other things, because that's how I roll. It's actually what other people want to see also. There's no set formula for reducing these, because it's always different. I just look for areas that are conducive to flaking. I try to eliminate areas that look bad, like if it's a cracked area, I definitely need to get rid of that. I could see that crack before. So I try to do the worst first. Take care of the worst first. The worst was that big old lump in the middle. Yeah. Get some good flakes from that. But now it's cracks. So let's see, what do I need to do to get rid of those while still trying to get big flakes. It doesn't always work. Uh-oh, we got cross-contamination. Obsidian is going in the box over here. Black obsidian is contaminizing this. I shouldn't worry. Don't worry, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to do something called zigzagging. I usually start zigzagging it. It's crushing, so I'm not getting big flakes, which means I got to start paying attention to grinding it. Sometimes I don't need to grind it all that much. But this one, it looks like I do need to grind it, or it just smashes. It looks kind of buttery. It looks almost good. I really don't know where to hit. Nothing looks that great as far as opportunities. There it goes. That's not a bad flake. It's not a good flake, but it's not a bad one. This has got deep cracks in it. Let's see. I'm not zigzagging yet. I'm just trying to get big flakes. Although I will start zigzagging in a minute. Well, that didn't give me a big flake. Got me an okay one. And you got to be accurate too. which is something I struggle with. I struggle with being accurate. I hit too high up and didn't do anything. Hopefully it didn't do anything. Sometimes it creates interior cracks when I do that, called incipient cracks. How about that one? Yeah, how about that? That's not too bad. I got to worry about this one because there's crackling on this side. This side looks pretty good, but you never know how deep those cracklings go. But this is nice. Nice surface. So I'll be probably trying to preserve this side more than the other side. Can I take off another big flake somewhere? No. Yes. Start zigzagging already? Yeah. Let's start zigzagging already. And yeah, I'm losing some length. I might take a big flake there. No, it didn't work. Let's see. Yeah, not too bad. And this one doesn't have as much of that crackly cortex on it. Good. Grind it because I know I need to grind it from earlier. How about that one? How about that? Yes. Is it a two-part flake? It's a two-part flake. It just didn't detach all the way. You see that? No, you don't see it? It broke in half, but the other piece is still stuck there. It's kind of sticky. But this is a good flake. See if I can detach that one. Yeah, there it goes. And that's a good flake. But man, is that wavy. Holy moly. That's pretty typical of obsidian. It's just kind of scary looking. Because it looks like it might have ruined the thickness of it. If the waves go too far in, it gets too thin in some spots. But I think we're okay. Oops, that one scooped that one a lot. I got to be careful with the scooping then. All right, I see how this is going to go. This particular piece of obsidian is going to be finicky. Unpredictable and wanting me to be very precise. And that was a natural crack in there. That's why that did that. I could see that crack before I even started. Where was it? It was like right in here somewhere. Anyways. Not too worried about losing width. It's the length that matters. Yeah, that's a good flake. Yeah. It's better when they're not curved. That was not that curved. Just slightly. So I'm trying for non-curved flakes. They're going to curve a little bit because of the convexity, but if I can minimize the curvature on these flakes, that'd be awesome. How do you minimize the curvature? You look to see where you're going to remove it from. And if it's not too bulky, a lot of times you can get a flat. This, I might not be able to get a flat flake through here, but I'm looking, maybe I can get an opportunity to get a flatter flake if I hit from the corner inward. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's just a small. Forget it. Let's try to get one right across there. Yes? Come on. Yeah, like that. But it's slightly curved. That's all right. like that. No, not like that either. Yeah, like that. It's curved, but it's not too bad. And you know, you don't have to use these flakes for arrowheads. You can use them for shaping wood, especially arrows and foreshafts. You can also use them for butchering. As long as they're big enough to hold on to. That's why you need relatively large flakes. You need to be able to hold on to them. If you're just going to use them for butchering or whatever. Got the fan. I got to move it slightly. Okay, so I think I've done the easy part. Now comes the harder part. The thinning. Yeah, I was thinning a little bit, but I was also trying for big flakes. Now I'm going to just forget about the big flake thing and just go for thinning. Okay, it's a different mindset. All right. We'll pause. We're going to move into a different mindset now. If you don't know about the different mindsets, you're missing out. You've been living under rocks. Get out from under the rocks and look at this a little bit differently, and maybe you'll be able to improve your flint knapping. I know it improved my flint knapping when I started dividing these into very distinct stages. That way I know what mindset to focus on during different stages. You can't be thinking about big flakes as your main goal when you start to thin these down. Your main focus is to thin without breaking it. It doesn't matter what size the flakes are. That's why it's a different mindset. Your focus shifts from, okay, I want to get big flakes, to, all right, now I got to thin it without breaking it. And yeah, it's the same. You can say it's the same for this process of going from the rock to this. You can say that it's the thinning. You're still thinning, right? But no, it's a different kind of thinning. Some people call it spalling, especially with bigger boulders. If you're taking big flakes off of big boulders, you don't call that thinning, even if you ended up with something like this that's really big. You call it spalling. And this is a core. Okay? You can turn now this core into a thinned biface with a different mindset than the initial spalling or initial removal of big flakes from the core. Okay? All right. And yeah, that biface is a core. It's not like a conical core like you're used to seeing in other explanations. Cores can be any shape. Okay? There's a different mindset in developing a core than thinning down a biface. Okay? All right. I think I repeated that often enough. The reason why I do this every time now is because a lot of science requires repetition, repeatable, reproducible results. Science requires repeatable, reproducible results as part of the data. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm repeating this every single time so you can see that it's very similar and that the similarity is reproducible so other people can do the same thing. That's part of the scientific method to prove that that's what the yield is. Now, yeah, your yield is different for different skill levels. Okay, I've been doing this for about 15 years, so this is what my yield is. But I could get this yield even 10 years ago. It doesn't take all that long. But, you know, if you track your yield, you can see that it's probably going to be pretty bad at the beginning, and then all of a sudden it'll start to climb, and then it'll level off again. So you'll have this period of time where you're getting the hang of it, and your yield goes up, and then it'll level off. Okay? All right. Oh, I don't need to take that off. I'm going to check the chat, but I don't need to take the glove off. All right, so I'll get back to napping in a minute. Let's see. What did I miss? If I missed your super chat, I apologize. Jim Cooper, $5 super chat. Patrick, you ready for another box of sweet amoeba flakes? I'm gathering them up as I find them in my buckets of mixed rock. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be nice. If someone else wants them too, you can... Well, I don't know. I guess that's up to Jim if he wants to offer them to someone else. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like I got a bunch of people, but they're leaving now since I'm checking the chat. Let's see. Eric Kitty says, wow, Pat's got a crowd tonight. Yeah, they were watching me do the obsidian. Jim Cooper says, I missed the super chat. Yep, hopefully I saw it. Sam is leaving. See you next time, Sam. Thanks. Let's see. Let me go back to that super chat. Come on. See what's before that. Justin Cornelius says, it's funny how I always break my points on the last flake. Everybody does. There's always a last flake before it breaks. It's funny how that works. Yeah. There's always a last strike, too. It's not just the last flake, it's the last strike. Yeah, it's funny how there's always a last strike before it breaks. Wilderness Quest Outdoors. Jay is here in the house. Let's see here. Jim Cooper says, I usually find it best to never take Patrick seriously unless he's talking about the secret alien overshot technology. Then he's very serious. Let me see. UFO files, yeah. Okay, so let's see. I went back as far as I could. Alright, so that was talking about the crystal inclusion in the obsidian. That looks like a little piece of metal. Hitting my hammerstone on a gray material of polychrome jasper made little sparks. Literal sparks. Oh yes. Under low light conditions, you can often see sparks while flint napping. Midwest Brand says, Patrick, where is that obsidian found? I just found gray banded obsidian tools here in North Dakota. It's not local material. I'm proud of my ancestors for their stone glasswork. Yeah, there's lots of obsidian in Nevada, I think, and it's not only in Oregon and California and Washington State. You can find obsidian in other places. Even in New Mexico, we found some little obsidian flakes in Taos, New Mexico. Anywhere around the Four Corners area, you're going to find a little bit of obsidian. But I think, I can't remember now, what has the most. Does Utah have more than Colorado? I can't remember. If you're in North Dakota, you're getting sources that are closer than Oregon and California. Jim Cooper says the amoebas are reserved for Patrick. They are part of a deal we have. He sends me the big stuff he doesn't want to deal with, and I make big blades and send back the sweet flakes. Yep. Tony Williams, that is money you can't get a return on if you can't make a small point from it. Yeah. Jim Cooper says he has lots of obsidian. B.J. Ellison, I'd love to send you some pieces. Yeah, which one are you talking to? Carl Ritchie says, during the primary reduction phase, I feel that some of the old napper walked around while they worked. Yeah, that's always possible. As long as you're able to nap while standing. I can nap while standing because I use a free-handed technique. But if the only way you can get in the zone is on your lap like this. Some people learn this way. And this is the only way they can get in the zone if they nap this way. So you're going to have to sit down to get in the zone and nap properly. But I nap freehand like this, so I can actually stand up and nap too. That's one of the advantages of using freehand napping, I think. It gives me more flexibility. The more flexibility with anything, the more I like it. Let's see. Apparently some triface point artifacts have been discovered here in North America. I'm curious to know how much more care that would take to do it right. It depends on your skill level. The more skill you have, the less effort you need to put into actually being more careful, if that makes sense. So it's hard to give you percentages that, make sense to visualize on how much more care would be needed. It's some kind of percentage, but you only learn that percentage over time with lots of experimentation. And doing it right is subjective also. Let's see, California Three Sisters Obsidian. Yeah, Feathered Frontiersman is here. Let's see here. What are you napping today? I'm napping obsidian today. This is black banded obsidian. It's also can be called dacite. It's kind of buttery because it's nice and, I don't know, it has this feel to it that makes, we call this black butter, but it's got bands in it, so it's not true black butter obsidian. Black butter is like jet black, which is one of my favorites. Let's see. Yeah, blades that come off the core can be used as tools. Hey, Chief Cowie says, or Chef Cowie, I'm still in my first 8 months of learning, and I've only ever had the one bopper, and it's pretty banged up. Does the gnarl make it harder to thin, or it's just a skill issue? Well, it does make it harder to thin if you've only been using one bopper for everything, because sometimes the size of the bopper either will increase or decrease your accuracy. Some guys are more accurate with a heavy bopper. Some guys are more accurate with a light bopper. If you're not using the type of bopper that you're more accurate with, your flint knapping will suffer. And if your surface of your bopper is all banged up, because that's the only one you've been using, that also will reduce your effectiveness when napping. So in the worst case scenario, you're using a bopper that's not the right size for you, and it's banged up a lot, so it could be really affecting your flint knapping badly. That would be the worst case scenario. You know, I don't like using really large boppers. For one, I don't need to. And number two, it affects my wrist after a while. So if my wrist starts to hurt, it's not as bad as it used to. Several years ago, I had more issues with my wrist. Now my wrist is a lot better. But anyway, with a heavy bopper or heavy hammerstone or anything heavy, I can't sustain it for much more than a couple hours without feeling some kind of discomfort that affects the flint knapping. So that's what I mean by using a bopper that suits you. One reason is the pain and discomfort involved with something that's too heavy, for example. But there are other reasons why certain boppers fit with certain people. Okay? It also depends on the type of material you're using. And there's other factors too. Anyways, it's a complicated answer to something that's easy to ask, like usual in flint knapping. The Feathered Frontiersman says, I believe there is obsidian in Spain. Will Lord did a video on it. I haven't heard, but yeah, I suppose so. Let's see. Chef Cowie or Cowie. You can hammer out the dents and it will smooth out the copper and harden the copper. Yeah. Yeah, Feathered Frontiersman says, hey Pat, how's it going? I worked some Fort Payne, says Marty, and it was a pain. That's funny. Who would have guessed it? Perry Goes Ken says, have you ever seen the movie Major Payne? Yeah, I've seen that. That was funny. My bopper is still going after 2 years. Yeah. As long as you're not hitting stuff that's really hard, boppers can last a while. Only 1 year? Oh, thought it had been longer. Oh, okay. Well, 1 year's nothing. Lance says, thinking about doing some Tallahassee Folsom's abo, talking about self-punishment. Oh, yes. But see what the dimensions are for actual Folsoms made from quartzite or Tallahassee. You'll be surprised on the measurements. You'll say to yourself, hey, I can do that. The ratio is only like 4:1. Width to thickness ratio with quartzite or Tallahassee. Now, if you look at the most perfect examples of Folsom, you are looking in the wrong boat, my friend. Yeah. Look at what the averages are. You can ask your favorite AI search device, what is the average Folsom dimensions for Tallahassee quartzite, if there's such a thing, if they exist. Okay? If you're using a true AI that does research, it'll find those measurements for you, and you'll be surprised that they're not ultra thin. Justin Cornelius says he's going to retire for the night. All right, we'll see you next time. Let's get back to doing this. But this is a different mindset, so I'm switching over to indirect percussion, because now I'm concerned with thinning. Okay? A different kind of thinning. The kind of thinning that does not pay attention to large flakes as far as saving these. I like large flakes as far as the aesthetic look to it on the workpiece, but I'm not too worried about getting long or large flakes for using them. Okay? All right. I'm focused mainly on thinning. That's it. There's no consideration for size of flakes other than to create a smooth surface. I like smooth surfaces caused by larger flakes. That's what I'm concerned about. If I generate a large flake, it's not because I want to generate the flake itself. It's because I want to generate a large flake scar. That's my goal. The flake scars. So that's why that's the main reason why this stage is different. I'm concerned about the flake scars more than the size of the debitage flakes. All right. I think I've repeated that enough. to illustrate what I'm talking about, or to try to make clear what I'm doing, what my mindset or my goals or my mentality is while I'm doing this. I'm concerned with thinning, and I like to make big flakes because they make big flake scars. And I like the look of the big flake scars. And it also helps to reduce the total amount of flakes required to be removed, so I'm not sitting here all day just doing little persnickety flakes, because that drives me nuts. You got to work within your tolerances of your personality as well. I could do little flakes and try to get long, narrow ones as my thinning strategy, because I like the look of long, narrow flake scars. I could be one of those nappers, but I'm not. If I get a long, narrow flake, it's just incidental, not intentional. If I'm trying for a wide, big flake and I get a long, narrow flake, it's incidental. And yes, it is important to learn the difference. Don't listen to internet culture that tells you that all these flakes are controlled. They're all intentional, in other words. Some of the flakes are incidental. The look of the flake is not intentional, but incidental. It happens to look that way, but not because you want it to look that way. Okay? You want it to look a certain way and it turns out to not do it. That's not controlled. The important thing is to increase accuracy. Just like shooting arrows at a target. Once you fire the arrow is going to do what it wants, and it's going to be subject to forces beyond your control once it leaves the bow. But as you increase your accuracy, your shot group gets tighter. Same with flint napping. The more you increase your accuracy, the predicted flake path becomes more and more predictable. Yeah, but it's a matter of accuracy. It's not a matter of control. You don't control these flakes once you hit. They do what they're going to do. It's like an arrow. Once you release it from the bow, the arrow does what it's going to do. You can't control it, but you can get your shot groups to start to decrease in size. And the shot groups in flint napping are the flake paths. You can dial in certain flake paths and get more accurate in predicting in both, not both, but in different areas of the flake. You can start predicting better the initiation, the middle, and the ending of flakes. There are different parts of the flakes you need to concern yourself with. The initiation, the middle, and the termination. The termination is the hardest, most difficult part of the flake to predict. The middle is the easiest to predict. The initiation is not as easy to predict as the middle. So you don't know if it's going to crush in the beginning, as an example. You don't know for sure. You get better with everything the more you increase your accuracy. The more you increase all these things that help the flake initiation. The flake initiation is like your aim. You get better at aiming these flakes, but they require that you know the proper edge abrading, proper angles, the proper amounts of force. All this is in a sense you're aiming these flakes, or you're aiming the forces to produce the flakes. That's what it is. You're aiming the forces that produce the flakes. I wasn't predicting that, and I wasn't predicting that either. Some of that flake was good, and some of that flake was not good. So that was scooped out a little bit too much too, but it's all right. I think it'll survive. This doesn't feel as snap and halfish as the other stuff. Yes, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. Where am I going with this? I lost some length on here early on. Do I make it more narrow? It's always easier to thin it when it's more narrow, up to a point, up to a certain amount of narrowness. Narrowness also weakens the workpiece. You got to strike a balance. Narrow helps to, or it's easier to get to the halfway point to thin it down if it's narrow. But narrowness also weakens it, so it snaps in half easier. It kind of balances out on its own because you don't need to hit as hard when it's more narrow. So that kind of balances that increase in the chance of snap and halfish stuff. Anyways, if I'm not careful, I can easily snap this whole thing. I'm using some pretty good force to get big flakes. Big flakes require big hits, and I like these bigger flakes just because it creates a smoother surface. I don't care about what those look like down there. That's not working. The edge is getting thinner. As the whole piece is getting thinner, the edge gets thinner, and it can make it much more difficult to run flakes because the edge will crush like that. It's not strong enough to do what I want. See that? It dived in, crushed instead of traveling. Because the edge is starting to get thin, because the whole thing is getting thin. All right. It does not like inward force. So you got to be very careful with the inward force. And the stone likes convexity. It likes rounded surfaces, not flat surfaces. It'll tell you right away when it'll start to step fracture if it's running into a flat area. All else being equal, you're trying to prevent step fractures, and if you're still getting them, that means it's too flat for that flake. It wants something more rounded. I'm all chaotic with this one. It seems a little more wonky than usual. I'm getting crushing on the edges. That's one reason why it's starting to get wonky. Some flakes are working, some are not, so it gets kind of wonky because I'm trying to keep this edge straight, but if some of the flakes are not working, the edge is going to stay wonky. Yeah. And I'm trying to thin at the same time. You know, I want to use the edge for flakes that are both going to create a smooth surface and thin it down. That's probably the hardest combination to achieve. You know, you can get larger, smoother flakes with a thicker point. To try to do the large, smooth flakes with a thin point, that's difficult. Yeah, and no one wants to see me make a thick point. They go, nah, anyone can do that. Yep. Pretty much. Okay, so preliminary thinning is done. Now comes the final thinning after this. So preliminary thinning is done. Next stage, different mindset. This next stage is the hardest stage in all of Flintknapping because now it's been thinned, but I'm going to try to get it thinner. This is the hardest stage coming up. Different mindset. I'm going to have to make sure that I get into the sweet zone. That I work with the tools to dial it in. I've established that this width is pretty good. But I might have to go down to this width to get the flakes to travel the way I want. This ended up getting very narrow because I think the flakes were scooping a little too much, a little bit too chaotic when they were longer. I don't know. Can't remember that one all that well. This one seems like I can keep it a little bit wider than the other one. I'm not sure exactly why I lost width on the other one. Okay, so let's clean up a little bit. I got enough time to haft this. It's 2 hours, 24 minutes. Let's see. Here we go. It's 3 hours if I haft this. Be a 3 hour live stream. Is my pen down in here somewhere? I buy like packs of Sharpie pens, and I end up finding pens in all these weird areas. You know, I'll say to myself, man, I just recently bought a new pack of 20 pens or 12 pens or whatever, and they're all missing. But they're not missing, they're just in weird spots. Okay. What's the best hafting strategy for something like this? Well, let's see. I like expanding stems on something like this because expanding stems, I think, have the best stone to wood joint. Yeah. The contracting stems, I still haven't figured out why they would do that. With stems that are contracting. Right. You see a pine tree in my future out of obsidian? You don't make pine trees out of obsidian. You make obsidian style points out of obsidian. The ones that are in the archaeological record. Like Eastgates and stuff. Like, I'm going to do some Stocktons and Northern Side Notch and stuff like that. I'm sure there's a bunch of other obsidian types. But pine trees are chert points. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know you probably want to see a pine tree, but oh well. Let me see. Hey, Ernestes. I think a lot lizard stole your pen at the Holiday Inn. Yeah. Jesse Garcia, hello. You've joined us at the 2.5 hour mark. I've been on for 2.5 hours already. Yeah, thank you for the super chat, Aaron. 2 super chats there. Probably another one also. Yeah, Hogs Baffleworth. Easier to shape it on a grinding wheel and then put the chips in to make it look natural. Oh yes, let's go flake over grind for the inquiring minds that want to know. Yeah, fog or flake over grind. Jim says, I like the look of the best or top examples to see what mastery looks like and try and strive to replicate. Yeah. Jim says, or asks, Patrick, would you like the movie Last of the Dogmen? Did I like it? I still need to watch that movie. I think I've started watching it a couple times and never got through it. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't remember seeing it, but I do remember starting at least a couple of movies like that. Okay, so what else we got? Chef Cowie says, I wasn't aware that point shape was material specific. Well, point thickness, yes. The overall shape, maybe not, but thickness is affected by material, and so is notching is affected by the material, and so is fluting, and that sort of thing. Primitive Gentleman, Patrick, have you ever made or thrown at ladle? Yes. I keep this around just for that question. This is my at ladle that I normally use. Okay? I use a 1-finger loop. I don't use a double loop. And I shoot mainly basket maker style darts. And I've got a counterweight there and a charm stone. That's my at ladle. Okay? And the at ladle is not the dart. The darts are called at ladle darts. Or they're, big arrows for those of you that don't know. This at ladle is the spear thrower or the arrow thrower. Okay? So this is mine, made of Osage. No, mulberry. This is made of mulberry, I believe. It's pretty light. I think that's 832 grains for this banner stone. And that's, like I said, charm stone. that has no bearing on the function of the lattle at all. Okay, it's got this little carved hook. There's no separate bone or anything like that for that hook on there. Okay, all right, and it has slight flex to it, very slight. See that? It does have slight flex, but that doesn't matter too much. Okay, you can have a perfectly stiff, but I like the thinness and lightness of it. I don't shoot heavy darts. My darts are like between 5 and 6 feet long. The ones that I normally shoot. Just slightly taller than I am. I like to shoot darts that are slightly taller than I am. I'm 5'8". All right, Jesse Garcia's a little late. That's okay. The primitive gentleman says, nice, my throwers are Osage. I hunt and throw every day. Lucky. Awesome. I get to set up my target range back here. I have room in my backyard now, and I have a hill as a backdrop. So I don't have to worry about shooting into the neighbor's yard because I got a big old hill behind my house. I really need a big branch of Osage to make a bow or atlatl with. Yeah. It's easy to find those at Knappings. You can, well, not easy, but you can meet up with people that have those kinds of things for sale. Bow staves and atlatl staves. Plenty of Osage in Tennessee, says AM Outdoors. Yes, plenty. There's Knappings in Arkansas that have plenty of Osage. There's Knappings in Ohio even. I think Coshocton is in Ohio. There's plenty of staves. I think that at least you can meet people that sell staves, but I'm pretty sure there's at least a couple of bow builders there at Coshocton at the Knapping that's coming up at the end of this month or something. Or very soon, or I don't know if it's already passed. I don't know. But anyways, they go hand in hand. Archery and Flintknapping go hand in hand. Let's see. Aaron says, I've got 8-acre farm with Osage everywhere. Anybody needing some is welcome to it. There you go. Contact Bobby Estes for Osage. Okay? All right. So, let's get to this. Yeah, let's get to it. So I'm going to put some notches in it very soon, so we can get it hafted, and then I can go to sleep. I don't have to get up early tomorrow. I've got shipping, yes, but shipping normally does not take me more than 3 hours. Luckily. So I'm going to take a few more flakes, and then I'll start notching this. Yeah, as long as I get to the post office before it closes tomorrow, I'm good. I can sleep in. For you night owls, we can stay up a little late. Hopefully, there aren't too many questions in my emails related to the auction, because I won't be able to get to them till tomorrow. Or I can check it, yeah, before I go to sleep. I had an auction today. A little bit earlier. It ended at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. So yeah, I'm trying to focus on this. Do the finishing. Oh, that's not good. See, I got a step fracture. Trying to thin it down, yes. Getting impatient. When I get impatient, the angles are off a little bit. I stop paying attention. When I get impatient, I stop paying attention, and then the angles suffer. I get the wrong angles, and I end up causing step fractures. There's a lot of reasons why step fractures occur, and one of them is, wrong angle. And that happens when I am impatient. Yeah. The angle is something that takes a long time to get used to. It varies with almost every strike. You have to kind of assess the surface before your brain decides on the angle of attack. And if you're not paying attention because you're impatient, you misjudge the angle of attack, and then it ends up step fracturing in many cases, like this. There's other reasons why it step fractures like that, but I think that one was because I wasn't paying attention. How do I get rid of that step fracture? Let's see, I'll show you in a minute. Sometimes I can't get rid of it. I just have to minimize it in that case. So I'll show you how to either get rid of it or minimize it. Why don't I do it right now? Because I've got other things to look at. There are other priorities. That's not the worst. There are other areas that are worse than that one. Like thick spots. I'm trying to get rid of all the thick spots. All right. I think I got rid of most of the thick spots. Now let's see if I can pick out that step fracture. Where is my... There it is. My pad. It's getting chewed up. Yeah, like that. Just push on the face of the step fracture. That worked pretty good, actually. So it was just sticky. That's where it was. It just needed a little bit of a push. Yeah. It was mostly detached. It just needed a little bit of a push to get it fully detached. Okay, so now I can put a stem on it. The ratio is... I don't need to thin it any more than this. 50 millimeters by 6. Do we go 6 or 7? 6. 6 into 50 is 8. 8 to 1. That's plenty. Yeah, 6 to 1 would be fine. So it's 8 to 1. Nice. Okay. Let's see. Let's get the measurement out of the way before we do the notching. We're going to weigh it again to get the final yield. Approximate final yield. And it should be around 5%. If I'm being consistent. Oh, sometimes it'll be off because I'm going to start with either a flat nodule or a flat rock. The yield will be better on a flat one. I've been picking nodules that are kind of rounded. And I usually start with something rounded, because that's the most common stone that you find out in the field, is the rounded ones. Now, if you notice, there's a bunch of little flakes everywhere, but that's okay. We're only looking for approximate yield. So yeah, you can and I'm trying to maximize the length as well as the width. Right, this is now 4 inches almost exactly. So we can write that down. So 4 inches. That's pretty close. It started at 4.5 inches long. Now it's 4 inches, which is good. We won't do a ratio on that one or a percentage on that one. Is this one of these? Yeah. Okay, so let's see. We dump these out somewhere. Because we need to adjust for the weight of the bowl. Yeah, like that. Put everything back in the bowl. £1, 10.8. £1, 10.8 ounces. So we lost about almost an ounce of flake somewhere. This might be one of them, yeah. Or 9. That increased it from 0.8 to 0.9. So let's see. 10.9? Yeah, 10. That almost looks like a 6. So, 1 pound, 10 point. All right, but then we're going to measure just the point by itself. .4 ounces. And the ratio, let's see, this is all, and that's the point. I mean, not the ratio, but the yield. This is the yield. Probably spelled that wrong. Anyways, here we go. Let's see, 1 pound 10, that's 26.9. And that's 1.4, so 1.4 divided by 26.9, 5.2%. Okay, so before we had 5.4%, now we got 5.2%. Okay, and the ratio, what was it? 8 to 1? So with a thinner point, the yield should be smaller. But in this case, it was pretty good. Probably mainly because we preserved the length. So it's a good yield by weight, even though it's much thinner than the other one. Okay, the thinner you get it, the less yield by weight. You get it? Yeah. All right, so there you go. Let's see if we can install a stem and haft it. I like expanding stems on these. On the obsidian, it grips the obsidian easier. With an expanding stem. Switch over to a smaller diameter rod, right? I'll be hitting the base, which is kind of risky. I'm going to thin down the base in preparation for notching. Theoretically. Yeah. In theory, it should work. Yes? Yeah. Alright, so let's just focus on that. I'm probably going to lose a little bit of length, but it's okay. Yeah. Let's see. If I make a knife blade, it'd be easier. Yeah, we'll make a knife out of it. I'll haft it to the knife handle. So I'll put in some notches in there. So that'll fit. Now I could do it on this one too. Yeah. No, second thought. This one's a little bit bigger. I could do it on either one of these. Does that one fit a little bit better? It looks like it might be more proportional. Yeah, let's do this one. There's a lot of room on this one actually. So yeah, let's see. This is a little bit shorter stem or shorter depth on the notch. I don't have to put in deep notches for this particular handle, which is awesome. Okay. I'm not going to worry about narrow entry. Just want to get the right width. Yeah, okay. That's a right width. That's the correct width on the stem. Okay, I need to use a second glove. I have a feeling that if I don't, I will be interrupted while I'm trying to do the notching, and that's never a good thing. Okay. All right. Here we go. We're going to just try to do this quickly. We'll see how that goes. And this is just a copper flattened nail on the end of this pressure flaker I bought this from a website. The pressure flaker, not the copper. The copper is a copper nail. Yeah. I think it might be a 20-penny copper nail. So I'll do a little bit of depth on the notch on each side and then compare it to the handle. And I think that's how they used to do it back in the day also. They would have a handle already made, because you can save the handle for years and just replace the blades. But you got to make sure the blades fit, so you don't have to keep modifying the handle. Why would you want to keep the handle for years? Just something something you don't have to think about. You don't have to be thinking about having to make another handle every time you do another blade. You don't make the handle to the blade, because that doubles your work. You make the blade or the workpiece to fit the handle. All right, all right. This obsidian notches so easily compared to other materials. Yeah. Especially if you're not too concerned with narrow entry notching. Some people get all upset if they cannot do narrow entry. Yeah, I understand it. You want to duplicate the best. But you know, it's not easy. And narrow entry is not always the best, because if it takes too much time and you don't have much time, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Okay, so a little bit deeper, I guess, and we'll be ready to haft it. I'm pretty sure I can go a little bit deeper without worrying about it. Almost 3 hours. Let's see if I can do this before the 3 hours is up. Where's my... Let's start soaking the sinew. Got a bunch. Start soaking the big pieces. Yeah, that, like that. The big thick pieces. This is backstrap, okay? And I've used these over and over and over again. And no, I'm not going to chew on these. I'm not going to be chewing on them and spitting them out and then hafting with them and then letting them, you know, undo the hafting and letting them dry, and then next time I put them back in my mouth and over and over again. No. Besides, saliva breaks this down over time. Saliva has these enzymes or something that breaks this down. You don't want to do that if you're going to be reusing it. Just plain water is good. If you want to reuse the sinew. And why not? Sinew is actually edible. So if you don't have to use it for your stuff, you can always eat it. It provides valuable proteins and collagen. Very vital for health. So if you don't have to use it for hafting, that's a good thing. So you reuse the sinew. You don't have to be chewing it every time. It's even better. lot of guys, when they show you the hafting, it's just a one-off, right? They don't show you how to rehaft a broken point. Or a broken blade. That's good enough. I could go deeper, but no. It's starting to stall out, and this is starting to develop a burr and all that. I think that's sufficient, yeah. I think we can get by with that. See how the stem is right in line with the wood. That's the best connection you can have. If the stem matches the wood exactly. Okay? In my opinion, that's the strongest haft. And I constrict this. See how it's dished in there on these sides? That way, when you wrap it, not only is the expanding stem preventing it from being pulled out, but this also prevents it from being pulled out. This little dished out area on the side. It resists being pulled out of the haft. And also resists the twisting. Alright? Alright. And on the real artifact here, this is also slightly expanding. It was probably, this little corner is missing, but it was probably slightly expanding. I think that's the best haft for a knife, is a slightly expanding stem. Although I'm imagining that a lot of the knives back in the day were also contracting stems. I just haven't figured out a strong way to attach those. It just seems like a weak proposition to begin with. Anyways. Maybe they were using them in a certain way that they didn't need to prevent the blades from being pulled out. I don't know. And I like using wood for the handles only and not antler or bone, because if you drop this in water, it has a tendency to float or sink slowly, so that it gives you a chance to grab it and not lose it if you're in water. Because, you know, you drop this knife and all the time you spent making it in water, and if it sinks to the bottom because you got bone or antler handle, it's not worth it. When you could have just used a piece of wood that floats, and it floats like this. You know, this is the heavier part. You can see this sticking out of the water right there. Or it may sink slowly enough for you to grab it. Okay? All right. Just for inquiring minds that want to know why I would use wood. That's the main reason. And number two, I think it looks pretty good. I think wood looks good. And believe it or not, wood doesn't attract bacteria all that easily. That's why they make cutting boards out of wood. And that's important when you're processing. I mean, they didn't know about bacteria back in the day, but they probably figured out if they use a wood handle that they would get less sick than if they use any other type of handle. Okay. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, of course. And I know everything. Yeah. All right. My mom used to say that she was always right. Yeah, I'm not going to go that far. And she wasn't joking. That's the bad part. You better listen, Patrick. I'm always right. Okay, Mom. Okay, so yeah, this is just simulating, okay? This modeling clay is just to make it look like I'm using pitch or something for the glue. Okay, so that's the way I would put the pitch or the rosin or whatever that I'm using hot melt. Rosin, whatever. Or asphaltum. That's how I would apply it. Okay? And then, now we can wrap it with sinew. And yeah, you can use hide glue or some other kind of glue to help this. And I did not score this handle. Usually I would score the handle just so the glue actually a little bit better. It grips a little bit better if you put score lines in the wood. Supposedly. I don't notice much difference myself. But yeah, I guess it does help a little bit. Especially if the glue's not a good quality. They did not really have good quality glues back in the day. We take it for granted that our glue these days is excellent quality. Excellent, excellent. We have excellent adhesives these days. Alright, so I'm going up over the top of the wood a little bit. But the main holding power is right here in the middle. But I did go up on the wood a little bit. And I'm removing the excess. And I would do this with the rosin or hot melt as well. I would remove any excess that seems like too much or not too much or not. If it seems like too much, if I've got a lot of resin, hot melt resin up on top, I'll remove it. Just like I'm doing now. I just want to make a nice transition between the wood and stone, or wood and obsidian. Obsidian doesn't really how should I say this? Glue does not adhere to obsidian very well. So obsidian is not very cooperative when it comes to this rosin or this hafting glue. So the better you can make the joint when using sinew, that'll help it to stay put. So the joinery with the sinew is very important. It's not just for looks. And like I said, when the stem is the same width as the wood, that creates the strongest joint, in my opinion. And as the sinew dries, it gets more firm. It also gets flatter. It shrinks and pulls everything together. If you warm it up on a fire, the rosin softens, or the resin or the asphaltum, it'll soften and everything will stick together when you apply some heat to it as it dries. Okay? So there it is. And yeah, if you wanted to waterproof this, you would put glue over the top of everything. More of this rosin or asphaltum over the top of everything. Alright, so that's it. That's how I would haft this as a knife. And we made it 3 hours and 4 minutes. We're late by 4 minutes. Yeah, I was hoping to get this done in 3 hours. So all I need to do is sharpen it now. It's thin enough. I just need to sharpen it. Okay. So, everyone agrees with everything I said, right? Yeah, everybody agrees with everything. If you don't agree, just let me know. All right. Where do I get this design from? I didn't get it from anywhere. I looked at some artifacts and they all had wood handles. Very few have antler handles. And even those, when I've seen that there is some handles that could be antler or bone, it's a little bit sketchy. you don't know for sure, but there are some that are still hafted to wood from the Southwest. I look at the ones that are still hafted to judge what I use. Okay, so most of the stuff that I've seen that's still hafted as knives use wood handles. And it's not even this fancy, it's just a stick in many cases. Okay, but I like this contracting handle. Okay, because it kind of it matches the natural shape of a lot of old-timer, not old-timer, I'm getting tired. It matches a lot of the old artifacts, especially Aztec blades, with the contracting part of the biface as the handle, and this is the business end up here. The Aztecs, this is the way they use their knives. They didn't use it this way. The Inca used their knives this way, but the Aztecs used the knives this way. So that's where I got the idea for the contracting handle from the Aztecs. But everything else, the design of the top here and the constriction in the wood there, I came up with that to increase the strength of the joint. Okay? In the Maya sculptures I've seen, they use this wide part as the grip. When I've seen carvings of Maya with knives like this. But when I see the Aztec, especially the codexes and stuff, and then I see the sacrificial blades, they hold their knives like this. And they have a little point up on top here. And I imagine they would wrap this part with leather or something. Or maybe a plant material that doesn't get rotten, because they did a lot of bloodletting, let's say. Okay, we'll just keep it family friendly. Maybe wrapped it with plant fiber down here to keep a nice grip so it doesn't get all slippery. Okay? So yeah, that's good. Where are we on the chat? I'm going to say good night. Okay. Let's see. How about that? Looks fantastic, says Jorge. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bobby Estes Aaron says, I agree with you, Patrick. You, my dog, I don't care if you ever win a race. Okay. We make pointy rocks here. Yes, we do. Era Kitty. Ara Kitty. How do you pronounce your name? Your YouTube name? Trigga says, I'm a native from Canada. What's up? We're almost at the end of the live stream. That's what's up. You missed it all. If someone makes a Flintknapping game, I'm going to buy a Nintendo. Let me see. Whose birthday is it? I see a happy birthday in there somewhere. Semi-realistic napping game. Yeah, I don't know. A video game that's similar to Flintknapping, I suppose. So, Bobby's birthday? No. Oh, okay, Aaron, his birthday was Saturday, May 16th. Alrighty. Isn't it? It's Aaron Estes. His YouTube name is Bobby Estes. Let's see. I'm looking for questions. You don't know how to use email? Okay, so alrighty, so autism and ADHD has entered the chat. ADHD, yes, that too. Yeah, I am very familiar with ADHD. Okay, so I think there's no more questions in the chat. I'm going to say good night. Someone was asking about the notching, it looks like. Let's see, the Feathered Frontiersman. I still to this day wonder how the technique of the spatula for notching works. Funny enough, I've made a couple, one copper and one antler. Yeah, just watch my instructional video, my latest instructional video on the notching, and I explain the way I use mine. You just advance the video until you get to the notching part. You know what I mean? You know how to click it so that it exposes that little red dot at the bottom of the screen, and you can advance the video to the part where there's notching. So you don't have to watch the whole thing. And there's a way to pop up the individual frames so you can see as you're advancing what is in the frame. You know what I mean? There's ways to advance these videos so you're only watching what you're interested in watching. All right, yep, next live is tomorrow night. Every weekend night I have a live stream. It's supposed to go for 2 hours. You guys are funny. Hello, hello. Hello at the end of the live stream. Yep. All right. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you. Take care. Bye-bye.